Welcome, Soul Fam. You're listening to Let the Sunshine In podcast. I'm Sarah Beth Sulio, aka Princess Sunshine, the heart healing singing shaman and founder of Royal Hummingbird's Sacred Healing Arts. I'm in search of connecting with my soul family. I've been walking my hero's journey for quite some time now, and I'm ready to join forces in a more intentional way to collaborate with those on a similar path to being of service in the highest and best way possible. I'm here to share my experiences, my medicine and wisdom, and to also connect you to some amazing souls I have met along the way. Consider me your biggest cheerleader, your number one fan, because I believe that anything is possible 100% of the time. So let's dream big, shoot past beyond the stars, and bring a new world into being. Why? Because we can. I'm so honored to share this time and space with you because I'm sharing all my love, spreading joy, and shining light on all that is. I hope you enjoy this episode of Let the Sunshine In. Do you know what time it is?
It's shine time.
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 It's shine time, come on.
Hey, welcome back, Sunshines, to another episode of Let the Sunshine In. Today, we have a special guest, one of my beautiful shaman sisters, who goes by the name of Susan Harris. Now, what's so special about her is she is able to help anyone who's looking to help basically discover their gifts, hone in on their gifts, and expand it. So, for those of you who are wondering how you can discover and expand your gifts, this is the episode that you want to watch. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Susan. Hello, Miss Susan. Welcome to the show. Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's shine time. And with that being said, Susan, please tell us who you are, what your medicine is, and how you help heal the world.
Thank you. Yep, I just go by my name, Susan Harris. I like to say I am just who I am, and my medicine is sharing wisdom. I also share shamanic techniques, basically helping all people really to understand themselves, so you can create change and be authentic, more authentic than perhaps one already is. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're not being authentic until we start discovering or feeling things that don't feel good. So I just help people. I shine a very big mirror and help people see themselves.
Beautiful. So, how did you get started? Like, how did you know you had your gifts?
I didn't until I was like in my 40s. But when I reflect upon my past, I realized I always had a knowing. I always was oversensitive, but I didn't understand it. And as I grew up, I figured something's wrong with me. I'm not like anybody else. So I became a chameleon, but through challenges and very disruptive spaces in my life, I started following a question of what else is there. And in that, what else is there, I uncovered more and more who I am. And then I connected more to my gifts, and then they blossomed, because it's really not something to reach for. It's something to open within ourselves. So
Ooh, I love that. I love that. So, did you seek help from anyone else as you were learning, or did you research? What did you do?
yeah, so I came from a space of, I was just a working mom, and I wasn't into spiritual stuff, had no idea anything about that. I just knew what didn't resonate with me, like going to a church. And I just heard this inner voice that said, there is more to this life. And that has kind of kept leading me forward, not like a carrot on a stick, but in curiosity. And the first person I worked with was a shamanic practitioner. Even though I had no idea who she was, what a shaman was, I just followed the inner guidance that says connect with this person. You don't really need to know why. And that's kind of been my processes, is being pulled or nudged to people or teachers, even though I don't understand why, but they have been my biggest opening. So first it was a shamanic teacher, then it was a channeling teacher, then it was a tarot teacher or a Reiki teacher or more shaman teachers. There was many teachers.
Mhm. So what would you say then, for someone new, coming into their journey, like, how did you know what clair you had the strongest, or did you know, like,
Well, you can psychoanalyze it, but if we just step back and just observe our life, we can notice maybe we feel more or we sense things because you already know something. You already know, well, I had that gut feeling, or I knew that was going to happen, or I
Mhm.
see something out of the corner of my eye. You already have a sense of it. I taste something or I smell something and then nothing is there. So it's the strongest clair is very, you get it, you know in some way, but maybe you haven't just connected the pieces. But it's already showing itself. It's just whether we're paying
Okay.
attention.
So that's another thing. So I've also been asked, like, how do I know it's a gift and it's not me hearing things? Like, for instance, you said you heard this inner voice. How did
Mhm.
you know it wasn't like you making something up?
Okay, so it comes from a different place. So um even though I really at that point wasn't really in tune with myself, the voice for me was like somebody talking to me from the outside. Um, but what spirit usually guides people is to feel it, because you will know if something's in your head. Oh, because if you say I am clairvoyant, your body will connect to that, or say, you'll feel it. So that's why it's important to connect to our bodies and our the feelings that we have, because that's really the truest guide. The mind is going to structure us and keep us safe. So if being a
Mhm.
clairvoyant isn't safe for you, the mind's going to say, hell no, you're not that.
Right. Okay, so what about, so for instance, I also get asked, like, I just always have so much anxiety. I don't know where it comes from, but I know it doesn't feel like it's me, but what is that?
Mhm. So when we are sensitive in whatever form we, receive that, um, when we don't have a differentiation between what's mine and what's not mine and a boundary about it, then it impedes us and we can feel overwhelmed or, um, you know, f- kind of like in some way, like stuck.
Mhm,
So the key for that is to feel it. So again, I can say, well, that's not mine, that's theirs, but that's in my
mhm,
head. But if I'm not feeling safe in my body with it, I'm still going to have that reaction of anxiety. So, um,
mm,
so it's like understanding with your physical form that that's theirs, and what's my boundaries then, because it is showing up to ask or invite in a boundary. Because if you're light and you're sensitive, it's a beautiful tool to have in this world. If you
mhm,
have this, it serves you well to find that kind of, it's not really a barrier, it's more like it's just a boundary that says that's theirs, but you feel it. So
mhm.
um I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get that, I get that. So it's almost like trying to add some type of separation in there.
Yes, but it's nothing to like fight, because life isn't,
Mhm.
this is going to depend on what you believe, but life isn't really about fighting anything. It's about understanding, and then coming
Right.
into that understanding with our empowered self, because then we have more authority for ourselves, and the outside world that's mirroring us in some way isn't going to topple us over or push us back. It's going to meet us, and then so we can do whatever, we can respond to what's being shown. So yeah.
Awesome. So what would you say your favorite Claire is? Do you have one?
um
Or what would you say is your strongest maybe?
Um, So, my knowing is the strongest, and having a knowing can be the most challenging because you have less proof. It is a trusting
Mm,
yourself that I have this knowing, and the knowing has no explanation to it. You just know. And very
mhm.
many people have this, well, I just knew it. But then we seek for the
Validation.
validation or the confirmation, and you don't get it until maybe like later down the road or sometime, long beyond the moment.
Mhm.
So that's probably my strongest, but they all interweave with each other. So as I sit with
Mm,
clients, I receive information. I say spirit talks to me and through me and shows me images and feeling, and you just pass that on. But I had to understand me in that equation, to
mhm.
be a efficient channel, should say.
So what would that mean? Would that be more being centered in yourself, like as that channel? Is that what that means?
Yes. Right,
Gotcha.
because anything that comes through you, you have a filter, right? So you're gonna like the example, right? Is two people walk down the street and they have two
Mhm.
different experiences because you each have different filters because we are all unique. And when we understand our filters or change our filters, that's going to change then our discernment or what our
Mm,
interpretation is. So this is why it's cautionary to whoever you choose to go to as a healer or a psychic or whatever to understand if they've done their own work, because if I'm a channel and I have like love issues and you're coming to
mhm.
me for love answers, my filter is going to be my damage, and
Ah,
it's going to
right.
come through to you and it's not efficient. um
Mm,
Not saying that, because a lot of people can't get out of their own ways when we solicit in spirituality. So, it's just cautionary to, that's why it's about the center of the self and knowing the self and how you tick and
mhm.
why you tick and then changing that or not.
Gotcha. Oh, that's such great knowledge. Ah, thank you for that wisdom. What I was gonna ask, so like, do you do like practices before your sessions to connect? Like, how do you prepare for being able
Um,
to channel?
for me, I know some people like do what would be called a pre-read or something, but for me, so I don't get in my head, I just show up.
Mm,
And that is the best way for me to do it because then I don't have an agenda. I am allow the flow to happen, or what guide needs, is appropriate to come in. So
mhm,
not having an agenda or just kind of showing up is better for me. And but it's like I don't have, but it's who I am. So I do this all the time. It's not something I turn off and
mhm,
turn on. It's just I'm navigating life with this different interpretation that's given to me. So
mhm.
I don't,
So,
there's no, unless I just create sacred space, but that's pretty much it.
gotcha. So then, my question is then, do you, let's just say you're out and about, are there times where like you feel you have to go talk to someone even though you don't know them or their situation? Are you guided in that way at all?
Um, I was in the beginning, but there is a thing with permission
Mhm,
and intrusion. And so I have put, because we can create our own rules because we walk the
mhm,
physical earth. And my rule is that I'm not going to go and I'm not going to be able to just pick up everybody's energies and read that because it's very draining for me. And
oh, definitely.
it's like also kind of inappropriate to me.
Mhm,
It's like big
mm,
butting in your business.
mhm,
So the it only happens, so it doesn't happen that often. Sometimes it just comes up in conversation with someone that I
gotcha.
am, just the wisdom that comes out of me is just, it's just kind of naturally. But when I
Mhm,
first started my journey, one incident that comes to mind is when I was having my battery died in a parking lot, and so I had a
mhm,
AAA guy come, and I was walking around the car, and it was just pressure, pressure, and his father had come through, and so I
mhm,
asked him, I have this, this information. Do you want it? You have to ask permission. And so he
mhm,
did. And then, I just spilled whatever his father said. I can't remember at this time, but
mhm,
so that's like an incident. But usually I don't. It's because everybody's in their own. It's budding. It's like
mhm,
you have to find discernment about, are you butting into their life? Are you being nosy? Do you have an agenda for them? It's like,
mhm.
so I put a boundary.
Gotcha.
Like, if it's not appropriate, then I don't need it. And
Mhm.
usually it just comes through conversation anyway. So
Very cool. Oh, that's so awesome. So, okay, so then what would you what's the word? What's the question I'm trying to ask? So what would you say or what would you recommend for someone who is trying to like hone in on their gifts? What
Yeah.
steps should they take?
So,
Obviously I would recommend you, but like go ahead.
well, we all have our own, so what I was the direction that I was given actually when I first started is beautiful is that I was um it said to go and just write. And so what, because the whole point is to understand your language with this bigger self.
Mhm.
And so I wrote. So the writing would be like, maybe I had an intention, like what I just want to connect to one of my spirit guides, like what does that feel like, what does that look like. And so the exercise is you just start writing whatever's in your head. This is stupid. I don't know why I'm sitting here. I don't even know if I believe it. Just whatever the mind is chit chatting. And then
Mhm.
you report. And because at some point
Ah.
it's going to stop. And then you report, oh, I see blue. Oh, I feel something. Oh, a bird singing. And you start reporting. And then as you do that each day, you will start understanding your language and how spirit is trying to connect with you or your higher self, whatever you believe in.
Mm.
That to me is like the greatest gift you can give yourself, because sure, you can go and do meditations, or you can journey,
Mhm.
but sometimes the journey is to go somewhere, and then it misses connecting to how I'm, because of the way we're guided sometimes in journeys,
Mhm.
it misses the way, how am I going to interpret, or we don't catch that part. So that's why sitting with yourself and writing in quiet can be very efficient.
Ah, great tip. Thank you for that tip. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to try that now too, because I'm still figuring out. I'm like, do I see more? Do I feel? For me, I know it's more feeling. It's more feeling,
Yeah.
but I'm like also trying to see if I can hear more. So I want to
Mhm.
be able to like hone in on that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And like you said, just write everything out and then start reporting. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank
So
you.
The
Uh-huh.
other thing the other thing, just on a side note, the other thing that I did was, because I had this intention to connect to whatever this is, or to understand myself, I have a very busy mind. And so at that time I was running and I had music blaring in my ears, but somewhere in that space I could hear spiritual guidance, because I found the way to get out of my way. So
Ah.
writing can help because it gives our mind something to do. But if you need to be active, like I was at that time, it's like it could show up anywhere.
Mhm.
So
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I know like for even for me, like I said, it's like I can't turn it on and off. Sometimes like yes, I'll hear a one word thing. Sometimes I'll have like a vision in my mind's eye. Like it's but I feel like I said, for me, it's like I've known, like I know it's a knowing for me, and like trying
yeah.
to integrate all the other things is the things that I'm working on right now. So, but also I wanted to tell our guests also about sacred travel because sacred travel is also something that you offer, and I'd love for you to talk about that.
Well, the intent So it goes with that same concept of getting out of our way, or getting out of our comfort zones, or finding ourselves in other, discovering ourselves in other places. And travel takes us out of our regular bubbles. So, like, we have everyday
Mhm.
lives, and our thoughts are kind of routine in some ways. And when we travel to another location or space and connect to those lands, we start understanding ourselves through that. So whether you're sitting in a sacred site and then you're feeling the power of prayer, let's say, in that sacred site, it's another way for you to interpret who you are. Um,
Mm.
and beyond like the history that's in the space. And so it's just another way to, and I feel like travel, because it really does in some way put us in an uncomfortable space or an
Mhm.
uncertainty space.
Yeah.
Those are the best places to grow, because we're out of our way. And then
Ooh,
when
I
the
love
container, yeah, and so when the container is held in a safe, loving space, it makes it easier. Also, you have a person there to give you feedback, or what the heck is this that it helps you understand your journey through the travel.
Oh, that's amazing. And I've heard like also just based on your experiences as you do sacred travel too, it's almost like you also connect with other soul fragments, so to speak. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go too deep into that because that's another conversation. But
Mm.
are you able to share about any of that,
Okay.
or would you like to?
Sure. So, well, part of it is understanding what a soul fragment is. Like we go through a trauma or some type of place in our life where we have where fear is, and a piece of us says, I'm not doing this, and then kind of leaves. But we're still ourselves. It's just we
Mhm,
have these pieces of us, you could say, that have like, I'm checking out, this isn't what I signed up for. And so the last example I had was I spent some of my childhood in England.
mhm,
And along my journey, I have done a lot of inner child work. And I feel like I've created a bigger space where I went back to a Stonehenge, which is a place I visited quite frequently when I was a kid. And it was time. Like for me, the soul fragment came through my crown and down my body, and I could totally feel it. And I knew it was a soul fragment versus, oh, you're possessed, or no. Um, but it's a piece of us that helps us feel like more complete, or more,
mhm,
yep, I'm on this trajectory and life is changing, and I'm so. But in shamanic work, a shaman can bring your soul piece back.
mhm,
Sometimes for me, I don't necessarily feel that,
mhm,
because I'm just allowing to receive. But for me, I got it, it was a type of confirmation, I guess, like, you've done this work and here you go.
mhm,
But I believe sometimes we all have this, like, randomly, spirits saying it can already concur randomly. Because if I'm a person that has no idea what a soul fragment is,
mhm,
I could just feel like, oh, I feel different today, and that lasts, doesn't just come
mhm.
and go. Um, I don't know what else you wanted to know about that, but
Yeah, no, just saying that, you could go to a sacred site, and not knowing, maybe not even in this lifetime, so to speak. Like if you go
yeah,
to a site, you actually may retrieve a piece of your soul. And I
yeah,
just think that, being able to go on sacred travel, like it's a different type of travel, It's you're going there for a different type of reason, not just leisure. I mean, lose your innocence because you are going, for whatever your heart is calling, but
yeah.
I definitely, if you guys are interested in sacred travel, please, 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 please link up with Susan because she has all the information. Would you like to share what places you have gone to and what places you're going to?
Um, well, I've been traveling since I was 6, but my when my agenda changed more to sacred travel, um I've been to Peru, Egypt, Scotland, Ireland, Portugal, Malta, Sicily, um Ireland, I don't know if I said that. I went back to Scotland, I went to England, I'm going to go back to Peru, I've been to France. um yeah, that's all I can think about right now.
And you will be guiding future ones, correct? Just to
Yes.
put it out there.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
And India. So I would really like to, the spirit of India has given me permission in some way to support me to bring people back to India. And India is
Mhm,
a really, and Peru also, there are countries that people may have some derogatory thoughts about or judgments, but when you
mhm,
travel to these places in a sacred container, it's completely different.
mhm,
Like, because I've traveled to Peru as a I would say a surface level tourist, and
mhm,
it was a totally different experience than when I traveled in a spiritual container. I was connected more to the land. I didn't get sick.
mhm,
Like people talk about, oh, you're gonna get sick. No, I was eating, and I'm a vegan, so I was eating vegetables and fruits. I didn't have a problem.
mhm,
So it also depends on your thoughts, your mindset, what belief system you're carrying. But this
mhm.
container, and then especially if you're choosing and you're watching this and you're choosing, oh, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to call in a soul piece, it's important to make sure that you have your guides or your guardians holding you in a sacred container to do that.
Yes,
You want to set
definitely.
yourself up for the best outcome.
Yes, and let's say that again, like, you don't just randomly go and get a soul piece, it is, it comes when you have done your work, when you're inner
Yeah.
work, and, of course, it does help when you have, shaman or other spiritual people who know what that is, who could also help you guide you and help you integrate. So, um, but yeah, this was such an amazing conversation, Susan. I
It's
truly am
kind
grateful for you for being here. Thank you for sharing your medicine, your wisdom, your love of travel. Is there any parting words or anything that you would like to leave our audience with?
just to be you. And in that discernment is, um, well, the question really is, or the invitation is, who are you beyond what you've been told and taught? That could be like a very
Mm,
good inner thought process to go through, or a
I
feeling to go
absolutely love that. That
through.
is definitely a good one to think about. So,
Yeah.
all right, sunshines. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next time. See you later, sunshines. Wow, that sun was surely shining through today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let the Sun Shine In. I truly appreciate you tuning in and being open and enlightened by today's conscious conversation. I invite you to share your love by rating, subscribing, and or leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the best and only way to let me, Princess Sunshine, know you're enjoying the sun and to keep on shining. Make sure to check out the show notes for links to all of my goodies, including my socials and booking links. Until next time, keep on shining.